For centuries, British monarchs have been known for their lavish meals, grand tables overflowing with roasted game, decadent pies, thick sauces, and desserts dripping in sugar. Portraits of kings from centuries past show feasts so extravagant they hardly seem real. But here's where the mystery begins. King Charles, despite being born into that tradition, quietly does something no monarch before him has ever done. His breakfast plate, his lunch preferences, even his evening snacks, all break the pattern of royal history. And the most surprising part, he doesn't do it for taste or luxury, or even health alone. According to those who've spent years cooking for him, the reason behind his choices is something far deeper, something tied to personal beliefs, values, and a silent mission he's been following for nearly 5 decades. A mission that directly opposes the eating habits of his own royal ancestors. And today, we're counting down the 10 most revealing examples. Dishes King Charles refuses to eat, meals his ancestors adored, and the surprising truth behind why he's rejected so much of royal food tradition. But wait until you reach number 1, because the final reveal might change how you see the modern monarchy forever. Let's begin. Number 10. The royal tradition of heavy breakfasts. For generations, royal mornings started with one rule. Breakfast wasn't just a meal, it was a ceremony. Kings and queens of the past fueled themselves with hearty spreads: bacon, grilled kidneys, fried bread, black pudding, and thick porridge made with cream. But Charles, he quietly broke this tradition decades ago. Instead of a morning feast, he prefers a light, almost minimal breakfast. Often fruit, a bit of muesli, or sometimes nothing at all until much later. But why distance himself from one of the oldest royal habits? Because Charles believes that mental clarity comes from eating lightly in the morning. He once mentioned privately that a heavy start makes the day feel sluggish. He wants focus, calm, and alignment, not indulgence. And long before it became trendy, he embraced this clean morning style. But the surprising part, royal chefs were told not to even prepare a traditional royal breakfast for him. His ancestors began their days with grand meals. He begins his with restraint. And what he avoids next is even more shocking. Number 9. Sugar-heavy royal desserts. Imagine the classic royal dessert tables. Fruit tarts glazed with syrup, buttery pastries, cakes layered with jam and cream, pudding soaked in warm custard. These dishes weren't occasional indulgences. They were royal staples, especially for monarchs like Edward VII, who adored rich sweets. But Charles, he famously avoids sugar as much as possible. Chefs say he refuses sugary breakfasts, rarely touches desserts, and prefers naturally sweet foods like fruit. Why the refusal? Because Charles views sugar as one of the things he should minimize for longevity. His ancestors celebrated sweetness as a royal pleasure. Charles sees it as a distraction, and yet he has one weakness, which isn't technically dessert, but that comes later in this countdown. Before we reach that, here's what he refuses that will shock most people. Number 8. The royal love for red meat. Historically, the British monarchy loved red meat. From venison hunted at Balmoral to roasted beef served at state dinners, red meat was almost symbolic of royal power. Kings devoured it daily. Queens enjoyed it regularly. It was a show of strength and status. But Charles has dramatically reduced red meat in his life, especially beef and lamb, which his ancestors relied on. He said privately that eating less meat is his contribution to environmental responsibility. long before the topic became mainstream. This isn't a diet choice, it's a statement. His ancestors consumed meat without question. Charles questions everything, but the food he avoids next breaks an even older tradition. Number 7. The royal convention of eating whatever was served historically. Monarchs ate what the royal kitchen prepared. The meals were structured, seasonal, and rooted in tradition. Even Queen Elizabeth rarely altered menus. But Charles, he completely changed this system. He doesn't just request meals, he directs them. He asks for specific produce, specific combinations, sometimes even specific timings. To some chefs, this was shocking. He eats intentionally and refuses to follow centuries of just take what is served. Why? Because he believes in conscious eating, knowing where the food comes from, how it's grown, and how it affects the body. His ancestors followed tradition. Charles follows purpose, and that purpose leads to the next surprising refusal. Number 6. Foie gras. Many monarchs loved foie gras, the luxurious and controversial delicacy served at elite tables. Charles banned it from his household entirely. Not reduced, not limited, completely banned. This wasn't just dietary preference, it was moral. He opposes the production method on ethical grounds. His ancestors viewed delicacies like foie gras as a symbol of royal refinement. Charles views it as unnecessary cruelty. This is one of the earliest documented examples of him rejecting royal dining tradition on principle, and it set the tone for everything else that followed. But the next item he avoids is even more surprising. Number 5. Coffee at breakfast. Most modern royals enjoy coffee, especially during busy schedules. Historical kings embraced tea and coffee as symbols of power and connection with global trade. But Charles rarely touches coffee in the morning and refuses anything that spikes his energy artificially. Instead, he prefers herbal teas, especially Darjeeling. His reason? Calmness, stability, a steady state of mind. His ancestors welcomed stimulants. Charles avoids them, but there's a deeper pattern emerging, something that leads us to the foods he actively embraces while rejecting history. Number 4. The royal rule of meat at every meal. It was almost a requirement. Breakfast with bacon, lunch with chicken or beef, dinner with roast monarchs, ate meat throughout the day. But Charles actively avoids meat during several days of the week, especially lunch. He prefers plant-based meals, vegetables, fruit, grains, seeds. Many insiders describe his lunches as surprisingly simple. So why break such a long-standing royal norm? To align with his environmental beliefs, he sees his own plate as a message. His ancestors ate for pleasure and abundance. Charles eats for sustainability. And this refusal leads directly to one of the most shocking changes of all. Number 3. The rule of never eating eggs the way he does. Royal eggs were always fried, poached, or occasionally baked. But Charles has a famously unusual preference. He wants eggs boiled for exactly 4 minutes, not 3, not 5, 4, and he refuses any variation. While this might sound precise, it's actually the reverse of royal tradition. Previous monarchs ate whatever style was common at the time. Charles introduced rules into the kitchen. This is not about luxury. It's about discipline, routine, a deeply personal structure that shapes his entire morning. And there's another food he eats with that same precision. Number 2. Bread and butter. Like his ancestors, never. Royal ancestors enjoyed thick slices of white bread with butter, jams, and sweet spreads. Charles avoids refined bread almost entirely. He prefers dense, seeded, whole grain breads, and rarely touches butter. His ancestors ate bread as a comfort food. Charles treats it as a functional food. But there's one food, his most controversial preference, that reveals the real reason he refuses to eat like them. Number 1. The shocking reason behind his food choices. Here it is, the real reason Charles refuses to eat like his ancestors. He believes that a monarch should lead by example, not indulgence. His food choices are not only about health, sustainability, or discipline. They symbolize a new identity for the monarchy, one built on responsibility, restraint, and global awareness. His ancestors ate without considering impact. Charles eats deliberately to reflect the values he wants the monarchy to stand for in the 21st century. Everything from his plant-based lunches to his avoidance of rich royal meals is a quiet message. Royalty must evolve, and that evolution begins at the royal table, one breakfast at a time. And if you enjoyed uncovering another layer of royal life, make sure you're part of this journey with us. Tap like if you found something surprising. Leave a comment with the royal topic you want next, and share this video with someone who loves a good mystery. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next story. There's so much more ahead.